r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Hotel staff of Reddit. How often do you catch people nude in the halls and what's your best story? NSFW. The case of underwear man and the mysterious bathroom lady. I worked night audit at a hotel 11 PM to 7 AM. On this night in particular we had a group of Native American construction workers who were excavating a site nearby for fossils. Anyways, into the night shift you normally don't get anybody coming down except to rummage through our little market for Oreos or other snacks. Well, around 2 AM I see someone standing in the market in just his underwear. For context, the back office is next to the market but you need a passcode to get through and we have cameras back there, hence why I was able to see him. So I opened the door and this guy looks completely out of it. Like 1,000-yard stare in just his underwear. Weirdly enough, I don't smell weed or alcohol. He tells me he needs help getting into his room. That there's some crazy lady in there and he's afraid. I ask for some sort of ID to confirm if he's guest. He tells me his name and other matching information. Sure enough, he's a guest in room 212. I make a copy of the key and then walk with him. But of course I ask him about the lady because according to our files there's no one else in the room. He confirms with me that it's just him. He tells me that a while ago he went to get ice in just his underwear, and when he returned to his room he saw a lady in the bathroom. He tells me that she attacked him and locked him out. Naturally I'm calling BS on all this. But just in case I got my cell phone ready to call 911. So we take the elevator and then walk over to 212. The guest looks mildly uncomfortable but I press on. The key card works and we get inside. Immediately I check the bathroom while the guest hasn't even stepped foot in the room. I check everything and I see no sign that anybody forced themselves in here. The guest looks confused but shrugs it off. I've got a theory about what happened here. I suffer from hypnopompic hallucinations sometimes. What that means is that I'll have a vivid, often terrifying, hallucination immediately as I wake up. Sometimes they'll be freaky enough that I'll bolt out of my room to find someone to help. Then I'll just stare off into space and freak everyone out. Because my brain hasn't fully woken up yet, I'll be all confused and trying to get somebody to help find the dinner plate-sized spider or strange lobster creature. Eventually I realize it wasn't real and then I'm like hug. And I try to go back to sleep. Finally one I can answer. I caught someone once. Well, I didn't have to catch them. They came to me. I worked night audit at a local hotel. One night morning around 5 AM I was at the desk when the elevator started moving. At the time we didn't have cameras so I didn't know what to expect. When it stopped in the lobby the doors opened and I see a man with a card looking slightly shocked. Then from the blind spot from where I was standing out stepped a man with a cigarette in hand and nothing but a small towel around his waist. He looked pissed. He stormed up to the desk and demanded a new room key. All while yelling about how he got lost in the confusing as duck rooms. I confirmed his room best I could given the situation and sent him on his way. The poor man that was in the elevator with him looked like he saw more than I did and didn't want to talk about it. An hour later the man came down to the lobby to check out and demanded a full refund for embarrassing him and for not clearly labeling the balcony door and the hallway door. I laughed and told him to call my manager. Which he did later that day. Kicker is the room he was in had two doors. A bathroom door on one side of the room. And on the completely other side with a fire map. Chain lock and deadbolt the room door. There was no balcony attached to his room. Did he get a refund? Last week I had to shoo an amorous couple out from behind the dumpster. Our hotel has the worst smelling dumpster I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. The thought of anything sexual going on back there is enough to make me gag. Maybe that's why they like it. The smell of rotting garbage is enough to cover the scent of your disgusting genitals. I used to work as overnight auditor for a hotel. One day while I was doing rounds at 3 AM, I thought I saw something moving at the opposite end of the hallway and I was like, did I just see a naked man? This poor guy was sleepwalking butt naked while hugging himself. Our hallways are freezing cold. I approached him closer and said hello sir. He turned his head and said hey. I was like, is he still asleep? 5 seconds later. I guess he realized what was going on. He said, I'm so sorry. I gave him a rob from a nearby housekeeping closet, took him to the lobby to verify his identity. Obviously he doesn't have ID on him. I gave him a room key and followed him back to his room to make sure he doesn't sleep on his way back or whatever. Edit. I can't stop laughing. Thank you all. I am glad that I didn't send this story to my manager. Whether he reads it as if I rubbed a naked man in the hallway, pulled off a stick up on a guy with his stick hanging out, or even worse as if I hid Mr. Rob in the closet so I could introduce him to a sleepwalker, I would have been fired. Had to read the part about gave him a rob twice. Thought this took an interesting turn. Been working 3 years as a night manager and it honestly only happened once. Knocked on a room where I suspected that a guest was smoking on the room. He opened the door completely nude and casual. Should have embarked on a steamy affair which ends up with you going undercover with an arms dealer for MI6. Eater. This is by far and away my most popular post after 5 years. And I owe it all to wanting to see Lockie's ass. One time housekeeping brought the front desk a bag of sex toys that were left behind. After 5 seconds of checking the system, I find that the guests are here for 2 more nights. Housekeeping ran back to put the bag where they found it before the guests came back. Doesn't housekeeping have a list of which rooms need to be vacated and which don't? Were they just going by does it look moved out? Seems like that system could go horribly wrong in many different ways. A guy somehow managed to lock himself out of his room naked and had to come to the front desk to get another key. The front desk is separated from the room since there are 5 buildings each with a certain number of rooms and he was in the one furthest from the desk. So he had to walk naked across the property. The saving grace was that it was around midnight so no one was around. Also I was sitting down and the counter goes to around chest high so I just thought he didn't have a shirt on until he was walking away and I did a double take as I got a good look at his flabby ass. This is my ducking's nightmare. Being that dude. Not my story. But my brother manages a nice hotel that happens to be near a red light district. One day, he gets this tourist who books a double room for a month. Ideally as far away from the main entrance as possible. Guest checks in. And starting on the 3rd day, there's this conga line of prostitutes coming in and out of the guy's room. By my brother's own count, the guy's personal record is 16 different women in a day. That's not the crazy part. One day, guest comes to front desk with a woman on each arm and asks my brother if he could book an Uber. Brother obliges and books the guest an Uber. Guest then tips with a prostitute. As in, full on offers the girl up to him and says you wanna have a go? I sincerely hope nobody ever takes a black light to that room. Edit. To answer the important question. No. He did not partake. He was on shift and working front desk at the time. Edit 2. To answer the other question. In a lot of poorer countries, cash is still king. A lot of tourists don't want to mess around with tourist sims and the local cellular networks. So they ask the front desk at hotels to call an Uber for them. The Uber gets to the hotel. And the guest pays the driver in cash. And yes, taxes are a lot easier. But in a specific country, taxis are also infamous for running scams, refusing to take passengers, or marking up their fares with bullshit invisible charges. Well, did your brother have a go? I used to work at Great Wolf Lodge. I'd catch people having sex in the hot tubs quite often. It was always awkward having to go tell them to stop. Edit. Again. Not Wisconsin Dells location, this was Virginia. But I'm sure this happens at all of them. You have nothing to worry about. They keep up with the water quality very well, at least when I was there. No. You cannot get pregnant from swimming in a pool with jizz. Starting to wonder just how much jizz I was stewing in last time I went there. Had one dude full of nude walking about but that was boring. Best was a guy who called down said he was locked out of his room after sleepwalking. Go up. He's just in boxers. I let him in then come down to check the cameras. Dude was straight wandering the halls penis in hand slowly stroking it whilst he knocked on doors then comes back down the hallway. Pees into a bin in front of the elevators and then calls down. You can even see the moment he wakes up he looks confused and lost. Was a good laugh. He got charged hazardous waste cleanup fee. Doing this while sleepwalking is my worst nightmare. This was about 5-6 years ago, but I'll probably never forget it. A couple was ducking all morning in a room I was supposed to clean later on. You could hear them on the entire floor. After lunch, I see them leaving. Both in business suits. Both very classy. Late 30s. Both very attractive. I opened the door and the room was trashed as if a rock star from the 70s stayed there. Crushed crisps. Spilled booze. The sofa. The bed. The bathroom was such a mess. Those usual 20 minutes they give you for cleaning would never be enough even for 3 people. They left a £40 tip on the table and a note saying sorry. Was £40 worth the clean? I was working morning shift one day and it was almost 3, so I'm getting ready to leave. The business center was right in front of the front desk. Across the lobby. I'm counting money and I look up to see Big Booty Judy getting pounded out on one of the computers and a guest with his junk out. Going to town. I was in shock. Right then my co-worker walks in and sees him too. She said, "Sir, this is a family hotel. Get to your room. Now. If you're reading this. Thanks for handling that. Sir. Go to your room. Priceless." I once worked in a hotel where the staff accommodation was a small house outside the back of the hotel, surrounded by 4 guest accommodation cottages. My friend and colleague had gone down to the hotel in the morning to make him and his partner breakfast. On the way back, carrying a mug of coffee in each hand and a plate of toast balanced on each mug, he passed a family of newly arrived guests unloading their car into their cottage. The cord tying his bathrobe came loose and his gown came open, exposing all. With both hands full, he had no choice but nod, smile and say morning in the most cheery voice he could muster and walk on. Not sure what the parents made of this. I do feel sorry for the children though. Edit. Spelling. I pictured this as the family was so busy unloading their car they didn't notice you walking by until your friend loudly cleared his throat and cheerfully called out morning to them all. Here's a story. Keep in mind I was 17-year-old girl while working at this hotel. I've never seen a naked person in the hallway. But once in the lobby a man at around 300 m sat down on a chair and called his girlfriend. I was on the night shift and I was sitting down behind a computer screen, so he would have only seen the top of my head if he looked over. But it was Sunday morning and he was extremely drunk from a wedding. He was wearing a suit and I was just keeping my eye on him. He then started having raunchy phone sex with his girlfriend or wife. And it was so raunchy. My jaw dropped and I honestly didn't know what to do. Then a janitor came over and we were sitting there flabbergasted. He then pulled his dong out and started jerking off. So I got up, walked over and said, "Sir, you're in the lobby." He woke up out of his sexual drunker stupor and I'll never forget the look of horror that came across his face. He ran to his room so embarrassed. Why did the janitor pull his dong out? I used to work security at a large casino resort and we got a call at around 3 AM one night about a naked and frantic woman running down the halls of one of our hotel towers. So we go up there and sure enough find a woman bawling her eyes out completely nude. We got her a towel from the linen closet so she at least had something to cover up, and then she calmed down to tell us she had met a guy on the casino floor and went up to his room and he attempted to rape her and got all her clothes off and scratched her up pretty good, but she fought like hell and got out of the room. Needless to say the cops came and the guy was dragged out and justice was served. Oh, he had a black eye when we got him out of the room too. She whooped his ass. Holy shit, I'm glad she managed to escape. Creepy shit. Not a worker but saw a dude walking this hot chick like a dog with a leash in a hotel once. Master slave, pet, exhibitionist. Very thrilling. I have sleepwalked occasionally. Maybe 2-3 times that I know of. On one occasion I woke standing in a hotel hallway wearing just my under trunks. Had no idea which door I'd come out of. No idea where I was. The place was completely silent. I had no idea what to do. Took me a minute or so to realize I was even in a hotel. Terrifying. Thankfully, I'd chosen to sleep in shorts that night and my wife-to-be eventually woke up, looked out into the hall and found me. Sleepwalking is the worst. I woke up casually walking about in someone's private garden once. Not a worker but one time we had a bachelor party and rented a hotel for about 10 of us. One of our buddies got shit-faced before it even got dark and we took him back to the hotel because he wasn't about to get in anywhere and kept complaining about being ready to go back. We dropped him off and proceeded to go on with our night. An hour or two later the hotel called one of our buddies whose name was on the room and told us we needed to get back because our buddy was laying in the hall outside our room naked. I'm not sure what happened, but he lost the room key and for whatever reason decided to get naked so he could go to sleep. The room key was in his pocket. Lamest hangover sequel yet. Ducking, like and subscribe.